Hello, welcome to Reading Success Academy. I'm Paula Smith. In this lesson, we're going to be doing some third grade spelling. We're going to work on two different ways to spell the long E sound. Now, there are a lot more than two ways to spell the long E sound. In fact, there's like 8 of them. That's a lot. In fact, a couple weeks ago, I did a lesson on long E spellings. We did EE and EA, and we did EY. Well, today we're going to do Y by itself and IE. So, and we still haven't even gotten to all the different ways to spell long E by doing that. So we're going to jump right into that list of words. And if you're interested in the spelling list and the worksheets that go with it, make sure that you send me a message at hello@readingsuccessacademy.com so I can get you those. All right, let's get on into the lesson. So what you're going to do to set up your paper is you're going to write IE on one side toward the top of the paper and underline it. And then on the other half of your paper, you're going to put a Y by itself with a line under it. And then you're all set up for those two different ways to spell that long E sound. Once you have that, you might consider adding some color. So you can grab two different colored pencils and make the IE one color and the Y another color. That's perfectly fine. It just helps you to visually see where the long E sound is in the word and the part that you really want to focus on. All right, so let's get started here. We are going to, first I need to find my pencil. It looks like I lost my pencil. Can you believe that? The teacher lost her pencil. Oh my goodness, that's so crazy. There it is. All right. See if I can grab a good color here. All right, so we're going to start out with IE. Now this word has two chunks in it. A chunk is part of a word that has one vowel sound in it. Since this word has two vowel sounds, it has two chunks. This word is diesel. Now, if you're working on reading this word, you would notice that the IE is working together to make a long E sound, if you already had that prior knowledge. If not, that's something that you need to be working on, and I can help you with that too. And then you probably also notice that EL makes an OL sound. So once you have those letters that work together to make one sound figured out, then you can just sound it out until you have a chunk. D, E, D, and then start sounding it out on this side. Sol, sol, and then put those two chunks together. Diesel. All right, so we're going to assume that you already know how to read this word, and we're going to work on spelling it. Well, we've underlined the IE to help bring attention to how to spell that long E sound, and I've also grouped together the EL so we don't forget that it takes two letters to make that sound as well. So we're going to go back and forth between regular pencil and colored pencil, and we're going to say each sound as we write the letters. And we're going to hold that long E sound while we write the I and the E, because it takes both of those letters to make that E sound. I'm also going to hold this OL sound too. Just a little reminder that it gets two letters. All right. Now you're probably wondering, why do we have to say the sounds as we write the letters? Because we are using the sounds in the words as a cue to what we need to write next. So if you were trying to memorize all the letters in order, you could get going through this word and forget where you're at. Well, you don't have anything to depend on to help you know what comes next if you do that. If you're listening for the sounds in the word, then you can listen for the sounds that you have so far and then say the rest of the word so you can hear the next sound. So let's just start out with the first chunk in diesel. And we're going to do just one chunk at a time. So your first chunk is D, D, and then get whichever color you picked for your E sound and say E, and I'll underline that E sound. Now, if we didn't know what came next in this word, then you're just going to say the word to yourself slowly so you can listen for the next sound. Okay, so far I have D. The word is diesel, soul. Okay, so then we know the next sound is S. So we're going to write S. What comes next in diesel, soul, ol. And because we grouped together that EL and we've been practicing the word that way, remember that it gets 2 letters, and we'll say oh, diesel. And then I would go ahead and group these 2 letters together. And we'll also want to put a little eye stopper here between the 2 chunks. I have a line here, but when you're writing it on your own like this, you probably want to do like an eye stopper like this, just a little dot, or it could be a little shape that you like, as long as it doesn't look like a letter. Put a little something in there to break the word up. And then that way it makes it a little easier for your eyes to focus on one part of the word at a time. So there's diesel. It is a type of fuel. It also describes a type of vehicle that uses that kind of fuel. Diesel. All right, let's clear this off and we'll go on to the next word. Actually, I don't want to take too much of this off because I want to leave my diesel word up here. Now have another colored pencil handy for your next spelling of E. Oof. All right, that's a lot to get rid of. Here we go. Next word, Paula, let's go. All right, now we're going to do dizzy. This is another 2-chunk word. I know that because I see a vowel right here and a vowel here. So I know it's going to have 2 vowel sounds. Now, you don't always have 2 chunks just because you have 2 vowels, because sometimes those 2 vowels are working together to make one sound. But in this one, there's just one in each, so we know that each one of them is going to have their own sound. All right, so we're going to first group together letters that make one sound. Okay, so we have your 2 Z's that would make one sound. Diz-E. This one's going to go in your Y by itself column. And I'm going to get a different color up here to work with for that. That's my spelling of long E. And we're going to do this 1 chunk at a time. So the word is dizzy. So we're going to spell diz first. D, I, Z. Notice I held that sound because there's 2 letters for it. Kind of sloppy. Sorry about that. Diz. And then E is your second chunk. Just 1 letter. E. And because this chunk has a vowel sound, we can say, yes, that's a chunk. It only takes 1 vowel sound to make a chunk, so it can just be 1 letter. All right, so there's dizzy. And one thing I forgot to do was to group together my 2 Z's. So there we go. Dizzy. All right, let's continue on. All right, we have daisy next. So we have another E sound spelled with a Y. There's something else that we have going on with this too. We have 2 letters that make one sound for this long A sound in daisy. That happens a lot. AI can be a long A sound. It can also be an E sound, like in the word said and again and captain. So most of the time, though, it's going to be a long A sound. So you always want to try long A first if you're sounding this word out and see an AI combination. So it has 2 chunks, so we're going to do 1 chunk at a time. Now you could break it up 2 different ways. You could do daisy or you could do days-e. Which one do you think sounds most natural for you? Would you rather say daisy or days-e? You're going to choose how you're going to break it up. We don't follow strict syllable rules here because they don't really apply for spelling. In fact, they're not really relevant anymore with today's technology. So just think about how you would naturally break this up if you were to say it really slowly. I usually put my Z sound in the first chunk. And this is something to watch out for in this word because when I say it, I say days with kind of a Z sound there, daisy. I don't really say daisy. So I'm saying a Z sound, but writing it with an S. That's a place where you could end up having a little trouble. So you might want to start this one. Make sure that you have a little bit more time to study it so you don't accidentally put a Z in there. Okay, first chunk is days. D, A. And I'm going to group those 2 together. That's my long A sound. Okay, so now this is a great example of where you want to really listen for the sounds in the word to cue you to what comes next. Because what do we have so far? We have day. The word is daisy. But I said the first chunk that I wanted to do was days. I wanted to have that Z sound in it. So I'm going to listen for the sounds in days. D, a, z. I'm going to put my eye stopper in, and then I'm going to go to my other color for my E sound. E, daisy. Is it okay to do day and Z? Yes, it is. Break it up in a way that you'll remember best, because you're going to be listening to you when it's time to spell this word, not somebody else, not somebody else's rules from hundreds and hundreds of years ago. All right, make it your own. Next up, we have believe. This is another 2-chunk word and a great example of the number of vowels not indicating how many chunks are in it, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 vowels in this word, but only 2 vowel sounds. These 2 are working together to make one sound. And in this word, the VE are working together for that V sound. Here is a pretty reliable spelling rule for you. In fact, it's really reliable. I can't think of a single word that doesn't follow this rule. If you have an English word that ends in V, it gets an E at the end. Automatically, just stick it there. I didn't make up the rule. Someone thought it'd be really cute to put it on there, so there it is. So we've got believe, 2 chunks. I'm going to break mine up into 2, like right here between the E and the L. I'm going to say B and then leave. I think that'll be easiest that way, because B is a word that you probably already know how to spell, right? Okay, this one's going to go in our IE column. Grab my pencil color here. I'm going to say each sound as I write the letters in the first chunk, then my eye stopper, and then I'll worry about that second chunk. All right, one piece at a time. So B is B. E. We have our eye stopper. And then our next chunk is leave. O. Switching colors. E. And then V. And I'm going to group these 2 together so I remember it takes 2 letters to make that sound. So you've probably figured out my code here, right? You see that whenever there's 2 letters that make one sound, I'll group them together unless it's the sound that we're working on. So IE is that long E sound that we're working on. Those I'm just going to underline. So my target sound would be underlined. And you know what? I gave those the wrong color. Those should have been red. Silly Paula. Let's fix that. Do you believe I wasn't paying attention? That's terrible. There we go. All right. Let's move on to another one. All right, next up we have battery. 3 chunks in this one. Bat-er-e. So we have 2 letters that make one sound here. We have 2 letters that make one sound here for that and there's a total of 3 vowel sounds, an a, an and an e. And yes, has a vowel sound in it. I count it as a vowel sound because there's a little bit of an right there, right before the r and So bat-er-e, this goes in your Y by itself column. We're going to build this one chunk at a time. First chunk is bat, b, a, t. And then group those together. Put in your eye stopper. Next chunk is Group those together. Eye stopper. Now go back and review. See what you need next. Batter-e. Okay, now it's time for that green color. E, batter-e, battery. And there you go. 3 chunks for battery. Hopefully you get the idea. You're going to sort your list based on the spelling of the long E sound, and you're also going to group together 2 or more letters that make one sound, and you're going to use the sounds in the word to cue you in as to what comes next. I'll give you a quick preview of the rest of this list. We have cloudy. Let me take this off. Cloudy. Relieve. Achieve. That's another one that has IE for the long E sound, but it also has that V that has the decorative E. Nieces. and every. So a lot of different words in there. There's a total of 20 words on this list with 5 bonus words. So I can send you that list and the worksheets that go with it if you're interested. Make sure you send me a message at hello@readingsuccessacademy.com. I can get those to you. And make sure that you subscribe so you know when I go live next. Thanks for watching. Bye.